Welcome. This is Alberta to Arizona Real Estate Show. I'm Tracie Gray, your host. We've got Devin Gray here in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada with Mogul Realty Group and EXP. We've got Diane Brennan down in the States, and she's with Coldwell Banker. So you guys have been telling people how to buy and invest in properties in Canada and the States. And as a matter of fact, there was a seminar that you guys did on it, a little Q&A about the exciting ways that you can invest in properties down in Phoenix and area. So I thought maybe we would do that for a topic today. But also you guys always have these fun, great conversations before we get to our topic. So Diane,
Stuff that we can't air about,
yeah,
stuff that
I
we
know.
can't talk
We always
about.
have to beep them out. It's just one long boop as
Yeah,
you
for
guys are
sure,
talking
for
away.
sure, for
So,
sure. Well, I want to thank you guys for inviting me on the mastermind. That was really enjoyable. And there was also an investor, or she heads a fund that invests in Dallas, Texas, as well as Phoenix. And then you had someone from Costa Rica talking about how to invest there. So it was really interesting. So thanks for letting me be a part of that.
you
I don't
know,
know if I
anyone looking to become an investor in foreign properties, it's a fantastic show, and it's on the Mogul Realty Group website, so you can watch that, or you can reach out to Diane or Devin to get a copy of the link as well. Lots of really great topics, and then Devin, you kind of headed it up because you know most of the people that were speaking.
Yeah, well, it came from the fact that we do this Arizona to Alberta event every week, and then also I've got a friend Al who is now with Cardia Eco Developments, and they've got a project down in Costa Rica. But Al's been investing in Costa Rica for the past 10 years. He actually started off buying a bunch of farmland because he was going to, not him personally, but one of his partners was going to be a farmer, and they were going to grow pineapple and coffee and teak and a few other items on the farm. And they did do that for a few years, and then just moved on to some other things. And he managed to trade some land up in the hills for some beachfront property, and he's built some duplexes there. He's still got a couple of them for sale. And then he got hooked up with Mystico Eco Developments, where they were putting in something like 150 properties right on the Pacific Ocean. So pretty big project, and it was fun to have both him and also Diane talking about Phoenix and Cynthia talking about Texas, and learned a lot about international investing. And Diane, you stole the show. You were great.
Yeah,
oh, I don't think so. I
you
was
have the
telling
best jokes.
Oh, see, and this is what I was explaining to Tracie and Devin. I go, oh my gosh, nobody got my jokes. But everybody, I looked at one person and they weren't laughing. And I was like, oh my gosh, my jokes are falling flat here. At least I think I'm funny. I think I texted you guys. Oh, well, at least I think I'm funny.
Well,
That's how
we
it
were
felt.
laughing. You had us going.
Well, thank you. The other 100 people, not so much. But I was going to ask though, so how much do you need to invest in Costa Rica? So what do his properties go for?
So his properties are a little bit on the higher side. I believe he's got the duplexes on the beach are starting at 325, I think he said, and then they kind of go up from there depending on the size of the house. I think in the presentation, it was there was one house, a two-story, that was over $500,000. But he also talked about in the early part of the presentation that because we didn't want to make it just about Mystico, it was about going down and investing in Costa Rica. And you can go down and buy a property there, not necessarily on the beach. It would be, back in the hills, but for less than $100,000. And he also talked about the fact that in a lot of HGTV, cheapest places to live on the planet kind of a thing, Costa Rica usually shows up as somewhere on the top 10. And you can go down there and rent a place and live pretty cheaply down there. You're taking a bus, you're not owning a car, and you're not necessarily living in a first class place, but you can live comfortably down there and have a great life.
What
So
about medical costs? Is medical free?
he said that actually it's a dual, like a two-tiered system. He said that there's a public system, but then also a private system similar to the United States. I didn't really necessarily get into that too much with him, but it does sound like something that Alberta has been pushing for with a two-tiered healthcare system, that if you're okay waiting, you'll go with the public system, but if you want it done right away and you're going to pay out of pocket, you can go the private route. He said that Costa Rica is pretty advanced considering it being a Central American country. He said there's 3 countries down there, Panama, Belize, and Costa Rica, that are head and shoulders above places like Honduras and Nicaragua, El Salvador, Guatemala, that are recognizing that, hey, the way that we pull our economies up and get more people working is you've got to be more open to foreign ownership. And some of these places are still not quite there in regards to accepting foreign ownership, but Costa Rica's completely on board, and that's why the country is a lot more advanced than a lot of other Central American places.
Awesome. Good to know.
Yeah.
Have you guys ever
Yeah.
been there?
We have not, and I know Al talks about us going down all the time.
Especially him. He wants Devin down there.
Yeah, especially So he's gone down, like he's gone down and spent like 6 months at a time down there, 3 months at a time. So he's I mean, it's basically a second home for him. But in the case of this initial farmland that he bought, he literally doubled down when the farming. What ultimately happened was the person that said they were going to do all the farming, after 4 years, decided, I don't want to do this anymore, and basically kind of left the investors high and dry. But Al went down and literally doubled down. He went and bought more land down there because there was other people that had kind of also decided to do the same thing, and so he bought just a whole bunch of extra land because it was inexpensive. And just by constantly being down there and networking, as we all know is important to do in the world of business, he managed to find somebody that was willing to do a trade. So he traded a whole bunch of his land up in the hills for this tiny parcel of land on the beach. And they've since have put up 4 duplexes or 8 units, and I believe have sold 5 of them. And then just less than a year ago, he was introduced to this lady that runs this eco company, and one of the offshoot arms is Cardia, and that's how Al got involved. And so he's heading up that project in Costa Rica now, because what he wanted to do in Costa Rica and what they're doing just aligned perfectly, and so they're moving forward. So it just was a great conversation with him, and the fact that everybody wondering about, like, can you drink the water, and what's taxes like, and what's insurance like, and he had an answer for everything, and pretty relaxed in Costa Rica. There was a lot of things, like he did mention that he owned this land up in the hills for 6 years and had never paid taxes, and when he finally got around to paying them, it was $900 for six years. Yeah.
Wow.
And no fines. No, it was like, hey, yeah, thanks for finally coming in. We really appreciate the money. Yeah.
Are they looking for agents? On last week's show, I was saying I'm ready to quit.
Well, so that's probably one of the biggest things is you do not need to be a license. You can simply go down there, and with a little bit of money, you can suddenly say, I'm a real estate agent, and you can start transacting in real estate down there. I actually have a client of mine that I'm helping. That's actually who I've been chatting with this morning. Is she's in Costa Rica, and she's got a number of properties that she's slowly trying to sell over the course of the next few years, just because of the tax ramifications and stuff like that. But she's in a different part of Costa Rica. Al's quite south in Jaco. She's farther north. But yeah, she's a real estate agent down there. She moved down there because she wanted to live in a balmy climate and never see snow again, and was wondering what she would do. And so I think about 10 years ago, she just decided, you know what, I'm a real estate agent. And now she helps mostly a lot of Americans buy and sell real estate down in Costa Rica. So there you go, Diane.
Yeah.
You can have 6 months in Italy and 6 months in Costa Rica.
Right? Sounds like a perfect life. I'm game. And then you also had a wonderful guest too, that if you don't want to invest in, it's group investing, like a hedge fund, she organizes it. So that was fascinating as well, because they invest in Dallas as well as Phoenix and other places in the US.
Yeah, and multiple properties.
Yeah, well, as she said at the end, that they're the second largest landlord in Phoenix.
And I forget her name, so that's why I was like,
her name is her name is Cynthia, and she's with I believe the company's Western Direct, and so it's a Vancouver company. It's a company out of BC, and they started buying properties about 10 years ago in Phoenix. And one of the big things that they worked on, as you would know, in regards to, you're always trying to find a way to increase the value in properties. And when it comes to multifamily, there was the ability to put a washer dryer unit in a lot of these condo conversions. So they were taking apartment buildings and converting them into condos and putting individual washer dryers in there. Now, not every building I know can handle that from a water capacity standpoint, but they've been able to find a whole bunch of properties. And sorry, they're not condominiumizing them, but that's what a lot of people will do. But in their case, they're buying these apartments that don't have in-suite washer dryers. They're putting washer dryers in each one of the units, buying the building as an apartment building, but they've been able to increase the rents substantially simply based on that extra convenience. And I know that that's worked out really well for them. That's it's funny, a little thing like that, but it's such a big part of their presentation. But I also believe that they've invested in like parking and also in storage. Which storage is a pretty lucrative industry to be in, and one of the things that you don't have to worry about is tenants trashing the
That's
place.
right. Yeah, I was
Yeah,
gonna say
for
parking
sure.
too, right?
Yeah.
So it's really
And
nice.
parking.
Yeah, it's really nice as an investor because your risk is lower because you've got them doing all of the work. You're pooling your money with a lot of other people, and you've got professionals, so you really don't have to stress too much. It's a lot lower risk than doing it on your own.
Yeah, it's a classic risk and reward. If someone comes down and works with you and actually buys the assets, either on their own or with a group of a couple of people, they're sharing in the risk, but they're also sharing in the reward. Obviously, the rewards are 100% based on what happens. But from an investment standpoint, like Cynthia was talking about, strong returns, but you're not getting access to the full gamut of what the returns are. But also, she talked about the minimum investment's only $25,000, and you're just, I guess in a way it's kind of almost like buying a stock in a company. You're buying a portion of whatever asset that they've chosen to buy down in Phoenix and Dallas, and for a lot of people that want to dip their toe into investing in real estate, that's probably a good way to go. But at the same time, there's also a tremendous amount of risk. A different type of risk because, and one of the things I think that all three of us have enjoyed being involved directly in real estate is that at least you have direct control over the property. Yeah, you can't control political or economic or even potentially what's happening in the neighborhood sometimes. But if you want to increase the value of your property, just, hire a contractor and have them go and renovate the kitchen or renovate the bathroom, and you'll see a return on investment, but you have less control when you are going through an investment vehicle, but at the same time, there's less risk overall because
Less headache.
Yeah.
and less headache. Yeah,
Yeah,
and so
definitely.
that was nice to have that the two ways for people to chat.
Yeah, she said one of the biggest differences between what you have, Diane, and then also what Al was talking about with Costa Rica is when you invest with her company, you cannot go stay in those properties.
Yeah.
Like you don't own a specific property.
Yeah, you haven't bought a
don't go
time.
stay
There's no
in them.
timeshare.
It's not
You
a
haven't bought
timeshare. Yeah.
No. Yeah.
You own a part of the investment, but these aren't properties that you go for your vacation. So
No, they're rental. Yeah. Rental units. And it's nice because you get updates with these companies of what's going on. You can see that they're tangible, unlike a stock, you know what I mean? Which goes up and down with the market. I mean, real estate is cyclical too, but it's nice. I like the fact if you're a beginner investor, it just really is a great way to get introduced to it. And you've got professionals that are taking care of it. They take care of the contractors. You don't have to do anything, but you can actually see. We actually have another company here that does that with hotels. They'll buy hotels and everybody will invest, and then they'll kind of redo the hotel and then resell it. And they have all these kind of assets like that are unique. So it's a really great introduction to investing.
Yeah, on what you were saying about real estate, we like the saying that real estate always goes up in an up and down fashion.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Long-term hold.
Yeah, one of the things that I thought was great to see, because you and Cynthia had not spoken before, was you both had a very similar message as to what's going on down in the States. I thought it was strong enough that I thought it bears repeating if you just wanted to talk about what's happening right now. You're talking the Phoenix area, but she echoed that in the Dallas area, that there's definitely a change going on in the southern U.S. Well, in the U.S. in general, based on inflation and that. So just thought that would be worth repeating here in regards to where things are at in Phoenix right now.
Well, there is a cold wind blowing through the Phoenix metro area real estate market, that's for sure. So with interest rates and inflation, buyer demand has dropped considerably at the same time that we've gotten a ton of inventory on the market. So it's kind of like a perfect storm. So I was telling the investors to wait to see what's going on, to see if this is a trend, if this is just a 1 month thing, because we don't know what's going to happen with prices. So with the buyer stalling and the buyer demand stalling and a ton more inventory, there's a lot more available for investors. We just kind of want to see what's going to happen with prices before making a move.
Yeah, it's great advice. And again, I thought that was, even from Cynthia's standpoint, they said that even her company is taking a bit of a breather in regards to no big acquisitions planned over the course of the short term, just to kind of see what's going on.
Well, we've had a lot of people cancel. The hedge funds have canceled and the investors have canceled and lost their earnest money.
Oh,
so
wow.
yeah.
Okay.
So those that are in contract, they have walked away. So that's great time. It's great news for our buyers that are not investors, first-time home buyers, people that want to live, work in the Phoenix metro area. It gives them an opportunity. Unfortunately, interest rates are now like at 6.5%, where we're used to 3, 4, which is still great overall. Like I tell my clients, 6.5 is fine. If interest rates go down, you can always refinance. Not a big deal, get in there and, take advantage of the appreciation as well. So,
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, everybody's obviously watching interest rates, and things are on the move here in Canada. And our next Bank of Canada review of interest rates is on July 15th, and pretty much virtually guaranteed that they're going to follow along with what happened down in the United States. Your interest rate moved 0.75%, and that's basically what is expected to happen here in Canada. So that's going to be a pretty substantial move over the course of a short period of time, increasing. It'll end up being 1.75% increase. But at the same time, it is about looking at the big picture. I mean, there was a time when, as I tell a lot of people, Tracie and I have owned a house for quite some time, and the first mortgage we got, we were thrilled to have 8%, and then at renewal we were thrilled to have 5.5%, and then at the next renewal we were thrilled to have 3.75%, and the latest one is down in the low 2s, and so everything is in perspective, and it's just important for a lot of people to remember that. What we went through with COVID was emergency. At least in Canada, we talked a lot about these are emergency interest rates. Don't get used to them. But obviously people did. And now it just, for some people, seems like the sky's falling, where we're still historically quite low, because right now for interest rates on 5-year variables, we're talking about 3.5%, which only about 4 or 5 years ago was relatively normal. But,
right. But then people couldn't buy at that time. Do you know what I mean? So now with the lower interest rates, they're able to qualify, and it's an affordable payment. So it still blows my mind that you cannot get a 30-year fixed in Canada at a decent rate.
Well, the other thing as well it's interesting, because I know from a homeowner standpoint, this is huge, but I've also heard from a government coffer standpoint, this is not good, and that's that you can also write your interest off on a personal mortgage, whereas you can't do that here in Canada. So I know that that's also a huge cost savings for a lot of Americans, in the fact that the interest they pay on that 30-year doesn't go to the government. I only bring it up because I think I saw an article or saw something where they talked about something like $500 billion worth of income that the government could get if they were not allowing to write off mortgages anymore. But again, as a homeowner, I wouldn't, and I was down in the States, I wouldn't want to see that happen. But we can't write off interest rates on our own personal mortgage. You can only when you have a rental property.
Well, I can understand the population makes a huge difference too, right? Canadians' population versus the US, we have a lot more people to pull from and stuff. But you have to think too, like even when you're retaining athletes, I always think of this, professional athletes, when, it's the NHL, how the tax makes a huge difference whether a player wants to play in a Canadian city or not. they might get
Oh,
paid with the tax situation it plays a huge factor in it. So, I
yeah.
mean,
Well, not
you
only that, but it also and when the Canadian and the I think the Canadian dollar is at about 75 cents to the American dollar, and it's been that way pretty steady. So Canadian teams can adjust and adapt, but it becomes very difficult for a lot of Canadian teams because all the revenue they bring in is in Canadian dollars, but all of the players demand all of their payments to be in U.S. dollars. So if you sign a guy for say $3 million a year, the revenue coming in from the television and from the sponsorships and all that stuff is Canadian, but you're paying that guy $3.8 million in Canadian dollars because everything is expected in
you
U.S. funds.
you have to in order to retain those players. You know what I
Oh
mean?
yeah, I
So
don't think that there's. I think maybe a couple of two-way guys that are kind of up and down from the farm might be paid in Canadian money, but I highly doubt it. But they
yeah,
also bring up the challenge. I think it's the two Florida teams where there is no state tax, I believe, in Florida,
right.
and so that's less money that the players are paying out.
Yeah.
Uh, and so they yeah, a lot of players would want to go there, and it's everything else. It's lifestyle and stuff like that. Like some guys are, when they've got family influences and various things like that. Then like what, the only time I want to see ice is when I'm on the when I'm in the arena. I don't want to walk out to
Yeah.
-30 and stuff like that. It happens, but
We know that feeling.
yeah, exactly.
We don't want to see ice anymore either.
Yeah.
So Diane, for anybody who didn't catch the Q&A session, was there anything that you wanted to sum up for people that are just viewing now?
Oh, sure. Well, I offered a buyer advisory to everybody last night. Excuse me, which gives you a really good idea of how to purchase a property here in Arizona or the Phoenix metro area anyways, and gives a lot of great links to resources to be able to investigate areas, to give you an idea of what's going to happen during your transaction, things you should do, things you shouldn't do. And it's great even to tell you about the different wildlife here, scorpions and all that kind of stuff. So it's just a really well-rounded resource that I offered. And if anyone's listening here too, you can just email me at can'trememberheremail@gmail.com or give me a call 602-620-2277. And I'm happy to provide that as well.
It's so funny. You go straight to the scorpions every time.
I do. I know. Well, that's what's different here.
They have geckos.
Yeah, we do. And not to deter you, scorpions are fine. You may never see one. So, but just to emphasize how different things are, that's how detailed they get. So I really like that. And if you have any questions about investing here, Arizona and the Phoenix metro area, we have a ton of businesses still investing here. We've got a bright future ahead. It's always a great place to vacation. So if you were going to get a property and do a short-term rental, use it yourself and then make money on it for the rest of the year, I'm open to talking to you about that and whatever questions you have. So it's always a good buy. We're full of sunshine. We never have ice. And, we're a 2.5 hour flight from Edmonton. So it's always a good idea.
Yeah, and that's perfect timing, Diane, too, because people want to travel now, right? They want to get out of where they are, and especially in Canada when it gets cold, everyone wants to travel and be somewhere where it's nice. So a great time for anybody who's thinking about investment properties in the States. Definitely contact Diane. She's got some great information for you. And then Devin, how can people get a hold of you here?
I know we're wrapping up, but talking about the scorpions and the geckos and that reminded me in the breakout room before the meeting a week ago, somebody was asking Al a question in regards to the resort, and one of the things that he brought up was that Costa Rica, while they're pretty relaxed on a lot of their rules, is very, very strict and rigid on environmental and eco building and various things like that, and making sure that rivers aren't disturbed and everything,
I love it.
enhances the landscape and stuff like that. And he said, he just talked a lot about how, there's an ability for all those animals to still be there because they haven't been disturbed. And he said, they've got sloths down there. And he said, so if the sloth wants to cross the road, everybody has to stop. And that sloth takes a bit of time crossing that road. So you get this long line of vehicles and everyone's kind of just like hanging out and checking their phones and waiting for this sloth to cross this road. Sometimes it'll take like 10 minutes for this sloth to cross this road. So you've got scorpions in Arizona and they've got sloths down in Costa Rica. So
That's hilarious. That's hilarious for sure.
Sloths blocking the road.
sloths
Yeah.
blocking the road. Yeah,
That's hard to say.
no trains, just sloths. That'll slow the vehicle traffic.
Should have worked. Well, why are you late? Well, there was a sloth. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, geez, the sloth. Yes, of course.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
If you don't want scorpions or sloths anywhere near, then Edmonton is a good option too. You can get a hold of Devin. Do you want to tell them how?
Yeah, so Devin Gray.
Cougars in Edmonton. Just that was
Yeah,
the joke.
Cougars. That's right. Yeah, but they're all at the local bar, so we're okay.
Bump.
We're full of it today.
So Devin Gray, EXP. The email is Devin, Devin, at mogulrg.com. Phone number is 780-951-9279.
And if you're watching this on a social media platform that you can like and subscribe, definitely do that. We come out with a video every week, and so we'd love to have you click on either or both. And again, send a nice email to Diane. She always likes to receive them. Just something nice, something simple, really quick. Just ask how our day is.
Send money, Venmo me.
Yeah, that's right. And send money. That works out too. Just kidding. Thank you for watching. We will have another show next week. We'll catch you then.